Book 1, Law of Salimi, Chapter 17. Title, Law of Zul, the Undefeated. This individual named Zul was an interesting person. He was a Sabah-born person. I cannot remember exactly where he was from in Sabah, but that was beside of the point. So I would like to introduce to you a real-life human being that was known as Zul. Honestly, I hope that I got his name correctly because I am not very good with people's names. His story was an important turning point in my life, which required me to include his story into mine. However, I would not disclose everything about Zul, but only things that matters to explain the importance and contribution to my life story. To begin with, Zul was a dude, which was to say that he was a male student. He was in the same batch as me at UiTM campus Menggatal. Although we took different programs, we shared several similar classes together in our first semester of studies. While I was able to achieve a great method of learning and got the best result in the first semester, he was on the other side of the spectrum. In other words, he failed miserably in his first semester. However, the one element that made his story different from hundreds of other students was the fact that he realized it. He realized that he had failed to achieve a satisfactory result during his first semester at the campus. Many other students also failed to get a good result, but most would not realize or even acknowledge of their failure. On the case of Zul, he realized that he was defeated. In his first semester result, he got a poor CGPA which began to drag him towards dismissal if he was unable to improve his academic performance. His second element that made his story interesting was the fact that after admitting his defeat, he started to take action to change for the better. Considering that his result was not very encouraging, he began looking for someone who can assist him in improving his academic performance. Since most of the senior students were not too keen at helping a second semester student or junior student like himself, I assumed that his only option was to consult with anyone who was capable and at the same time at the same level as he was, which was to say another student who was also in second semester or junior student at UiTM campus Menggatal. In the end, he started to decide that I might be able to assist him. While we were new students, our room at male student dormitory block B was next to each other. My room was B114 and his was B113. Essentially, during the first semester, we were quite close and rather good friends with one another. Based on my observation, Zul was not really 100% focused during his first semester, and he also spent quite some time with his girlfriend at the campus. I'm not judging or anything, but simply stating the facts of my observation about him during his first semester. I might be absolutely wrong about everything from my observation. Nevertheless, that part also was not important to the main issue of this story. the fact that we were quite close, I assumed that he knew that I would do my best to help him if he would just ask me. Obviously, he was correct. However, frankly speaking, I do not know how I could actually help him. So, when he came to my room to ask for my assistance to improve his CGPA for the second semester, I told him I would do my best to help him. Nonetheless, I told him that I never helped anyone before, nor do I know how exactly I can help him. I told him that I can share with him everything that I knew about studying, but in spite of that, I was not sure how can I help him. Third element about him that made his story awesome was his directness and honesty. He said that he didn't know exactly how I could help him, so he requested for me to share my study tactics and, if possible, for me to spend time from 8 to 10 p.m. every night to study together. After hearing that, I began considering the fact that I was planning to get 4 flat CGPA for this second semester, so a consistent study schedule would probably help. Plus, at that time, it sounded easy since it would only take 2 hours daily. I should be okay. Damn, how wrong was I? Anyway, starting the next day, when the time reaches 8 p.m., Zul began coming to my room. The fourth element about Zul was the fact that he was extremely serious and adamant, consistent and absolutely annoying when it comes to make me follow the 8 to 10 p.m. study regime. At the beginning, whenever I forgot about it or at times intentionally trying to get away from doing it, Zul would roam around the campus dormitory looking for me. Imagine if I was not in my room and started to hear Zul shouting my name at 8 p.m. It can be extremely annoying trying to explain to everyone who did not know about our arrangement. Later, as time goes, I started to follow the schedule of our study with passion and real willingness to commit to my promise to him. This method means that from 8 to 10 p.m., Zul and I will be in my room studying anything and everything that he cannot comprehend in his subject. Luckily, at that time, several of our subjects were similar even though he was in banking program while I was in business study program. In the end, his most awesome element about him was the spirit of never giving up and to never again be defeated in his studies. Eventually, I started to develop a new passion aside of the passion for knowledge and learning. From our consistent study together, which ended up with me teaching him, I became to discover the passion of teaching. I started to realize that by teaching another student, I needed to absolutely understand everything that the lecturer teaches during the class in order to be able to understand every question that Zul could ask me. For any question that I cannot answer, we will look for the answer together, either from books or my favorite method during the second semester, which was asking directly to the lecturer in their room. It gave me an excuse to knock a lecturer's door and spend time asking awesome questions. I also discovered that by having to teach Zul, I became much better student as well as the amount of our knowledge started to drastically improve. It made me realize that by teaching Zul, it helped me tremendously in keeping knowledge in my head. Teaching becomes much more effective than simply reading from a textbook. As a result, our study arrangement managed to improve both of our academic performance vastly. As time goes by, the result of our quizzes and tests started to improve, which eventually made Zul from a poor performing student into the best student in his class. In the end, both of us benefited greatly from the study arrangement. He managed to build up enough confidence that before the final examination started, he was confident enough to feel that he might get at least 3.0 CGPA and above. For me, the experience and time spent in our study arrangement made me discover my new passion towards teaching. This was the reason why Zol deserved to get his story told in my life story in this book. Thanks to him, I developed the passion for teaching until this very moment in my life at 33 years old. I love teaching and I contributed this discovery to Zul. Why do I put the name Zul the Undefeated? Considering that he already had been defeated in the first semester at UiTM campus Menggatal, why do I call him Zul the Undefeated? Care to guess? The reason was, after he got his result for the second semester, he got a CGPA that was qualified for Dean's List Award, which means 3.5 and above. In addition, from that point onwards, he told me that he wished to try studying on his own, which made me respect his confidence and the spirit of consistency. From that point on, his result made him the best student in banking program at UiTM campus Menggatal. He began creating his own legend at the campus. From that point on, he was undefeated. So why do I not consider his defeat on his first semester? From my perception, his life really began as soon as he admitted that he needed to change from bad to good. Any point before that was before he began to live his life. It was similar to my life that started at 17 years old. Zul's life started at 19 years old. He taught me the passion of teaching. From the age of 19 years old, Zul started his life as a good human being. From my perspective, in his life, Zul is known as the Undefeated. I was happy to hear that Zul managed to become the best student in banking program at UiTM campus Menggatal. I was extremely elated to know that after he became the best student, he was very helpful to assist other students in his program, and he never became arrogant about his academic achievement. He was very humble and never succumbed to pride and vanity. Because of that attitude, in the legend of Zul and in the law of Zul, he was the undefeated. He became an awesome student and never lost his humbleness, which made him forever amazing. I respected him for his feature about him, and I hope that he achieves an amazing life after graduating from the UiTM campus Menggatal. I assumed that after becoming the best student in banking program, he started to develop passion for learning and knowledge because he loved to study and help everyone around him to learn. Studying no longer becomes a chore to him, but instead became a great source of happiness in his student life. I am grateful to Allah the Almighty for letting me meet someone as awesome as Zul the Undefeated. By helping Zul to become passionate towards knowledge, I started to discover that teaching would be a path that I should pursue in my life. I should also walk the path of teaching along with my passion for learning and knowledge. Thanks, Zul, for everything. That ends the chapter 17 and hope to hear you again in the next chapter.